Welcome to the City of Eureka Springs Bozeman Planning Commission meeting Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. We will open with a public hearing, conditional use.
A little closer to the
We will open with a public hearing for conditional use permit at 26.
Can you hear me?
I'm on.
Test, test.
Okay.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
There we go.
We're going to start with a public hearing on a conditional use permit, 265 Spring, 30 King, submitted by Jessica Swafford. The request is to continue the existing conditional use permit for one unit of B&B lodging at 30 King Street. Jessica, if you'd like to come forward and give your application.
Hi, hello. I'm Jessica Swafford. Live at 265 Spring, and I'm here to hopefully transfer the conditional use permit into my name for the bed and breakfast at 30 King Street.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions of Jessica?
Jessica, I have a question. Are you the legal owner of that property right now?
Technically, the property is still under probate.
Okay.
And I'm right now administrator of the
Right.
estate.
Okay, thank you.
I also noticed on your application that you have down for one parking spot.
Yes, ma'am.
This is a bed and breakfast. For the bed and breakfast, you have to have one parking spot for each unit and two parking spots for the owner.
Okay. I do. It is a bed and breakfast, a one unit. So we have the one parking spot for that unit. My house is situated on street level on Spring Street. And then below that, which is behind the house, there's King Street there. And there's an allotted one parking spot there.
You have to have two parking spots in the back. You can't use public street parking.
Okay. We do not use public street parking. I have one car per, so we have a one or two guest limit, one car limit per guest.
So how many parking spaces do you have in the back?
One parking space.
Okay, let me read you code here, because this is not a grandfather. This is a conditional use permit. This is the parking code requirement for bed and breakfast. One parking space per unit plus two parking spaces for owner-manager. So that means you have to have 3 off-site parking spaces.
I'm sorry, hopefully I understand you right. One parking space per unit?
For your lodging in the
Okay.
back, and then 2 for you.
Okay. And there is street parking up above.
No, that's what I'm saying. You can't use that. It has to be separate parking, not public parking on the street.
For my own personal use?
For your
my
own
home?
personal use.
So I'm not allowed to park on the street?
You have to provide your own parking to have a bed and breakfast CUP.
So it would have to be in the back?
It would have to be in the back.
Okay.
Kylie, do we have a history on how this was approved for a CUP with the parking the way it is?
I can't hear you.
Do you have history on how this was previously used? Because she's applying
They have parking in the back.
re-up.
They've had parking in the back. They put
Correct.
parking in the back. So
The-
I don't know what's happened
The
to the
code's been the
parking.
same the whole time, though, right?
I'm sorry?
The code's been the same the whole time, though, right?
Yes,
So it was
when
approved
the
somehow?
the person, unfortunately, who's no longer here, when he came before planning, there were 3 parking spaces in the back.
Oh,
So I'm not sure what happened to those 3 spaces.
No, actually, that's incorrect. I was the fiance of the former owner. He's deceased now. So when we applied originally, it was granted with the one parking spot in the back, and we were to park above on street level.
Well, I'm sorry, I was here when we voted on that, and it was parking in the back, and he agreed. Susan?
I just have a question for Kylie. Kylie, how many letters were sent out? Did we send letters out in this instance?
We do not send letters out. The applicant sends letters out,
Okay,
and
do
I
you know how many?
believe there were 16.
There were
sent.
16.
Okay, thank you.
So does anybody have any more questions right now? Okay, thank you, Jessica. You can sit down.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd like to confirm that is in the code, that is correct.
So now we're going to, before I bring somebody up to do public comment, we do have some letters. I have 7 letters, emails. I go ahead and read them all. One is from Linda McBride regarding the application to the Planning Commission to continue the conditional use permit for one-unit bed and breakfast lodging at 30 King Street. I'm opposed to the continuation of this permit. My reasons are many, including the parking issue in this area of Spring Street, and I will share the reasons and concerns, including parking issues at the Planning Commission meeting tonight. The next one is from Chris Barton. I would rather we didn't add any more B&Bs, tourist lodging, or rental units to our block, as we are already saturated with them, and as you know, parking on Spring Street is a problem. So I would vote to protest this application from Jessica Swafford. I'm not sure that she even owns the property. Next one is from Steve Killebrew. I am against granting the CUP. While I don't wish to deprive anyone of the use of their property, the people living there have not been good neighbors. Some of my reasons for asking that the CUP not be granted are: they park on Spring Street, ignoring our current parking rules. Applicant does not currently live at the address, and a management company handling reservations does not live there either. Current resident at this address does not pick up her dog's poop. We've experienced nighttime noise from the residents. We have enough cars already parking illegally on Spring Street without adding more. This is from Susan Bullock Ryan. The historic Bullock home, located at 253 Spring Street, has been in our family since 1880. It is now owned by the Archie and Suzanne Ryan Trust. This letter is to state we are against continuing the B&B CUP at 30 King Street and or 65 Spring Street. Brittany and Corey O'Hara, we are against the continuation of the B&B permit license for 30 King Street. Richard Spear, I am against the continuation of B&B permit license for 30 King Street. And we are against the continuation of B&B permit license of 30 King Street or 265 Spring Street, Christina Pasecki and Rebecca Fischel. So that's 7. Susan?
I was just going to follow up with what you are about to say. That's 7.
There's 7 that are adamantly against, and then I have one from the Breetlings that they just wanted to assure that an on-site manager will be there and they will comply. And then I have another letter. I do not think these people were in the 200-foot rule, but it's Susan, James, Antonio. We are against the continuation of B&B permit license for 30 King Street. So with that, we have one person scheduled to speak on public comment, Linda McBride, and I will allow you 5 minutes, Linda.
The applicant before you requesting a CUP for a B&B in an accessory building at 265 King Street. The accessory building was given the address of 30 King Street in 2013 by the building inspector. That address is not a legal address because it is not listed in the Carroll County tax records. The tax assessor has an office with no record of this address. Jessica Swafford applied for a conditional use permit, listed her address as 265 Spring Street and the property address of the B&B license 30 King, Eureka Springs. She signed the application as owner of the property. She states in her comments, I would like the opportunity to continue using King Street as a bed and breakfast. 30 King Street is located directly behind my residence. Jessica does not own this home, nor has she lived there at a very, very long time. Each member of the commission has a copy of the FOIA I filed and the answers to that. It gives you a history about this B&B. Many of the objections presented at the Planning Commission in 2013 hold true today. This property is within 200 feet of another B&B. Accessory buildings is a new address on adjacent streets, alleys for the purpose of circumventing the zoning law is wrong. 30 King Street is not a legal address. When the permit was issued in 2013, the owner stated that all the property was on one piece of property, not separate. To apply for a CUP for a B&B, you must live at the B&B unless the ordinance has changed since I knew it. It is my understanding that this is a one-unit B&B, but no one but the renter is there. In the two previous applications for B&B, all the paperwork shows 3 parking spaces. I was at the meeting. It is 3 parking spaces. This application lists only 1. I gotta hurry. No need to go over all the parking problems. Y'all have heard them a million times. As of this date, September the 13th, 2022, the property at Spring Street is owned by the Virgil Fowler Estate, and it is still in probate. Probate can take years and years and years to get through. I'm against the continuation at Spring Street at this address because according to the Eureka Springs ordinances, a B&B cannot be within 200 feet of another B&B. To apply for a CUP for B&B, the owner must live at the B&B, must have off-street parking for the owner and the renter, must have a legal address for the B&B. Allowing any person to apply for a B&B by a created address circumvents the guidelines of the city. I think you're also supposed to. Anyway, that's my comments. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Susan?
Can I make a motion so we can
I have
get
to-
into discussion or no?
We have to discuss, once I close it, there's no more discussion, so go ahead and talk.
Is the applicant aware of the percentage that is currently in code as far as people who deny?
I do not know.
Okay, can I read it?
You may read it.
Okay. So this is in our code on page 441 under conditional use appeal. It says where a conditional use is under protest by more than 20% of the adjacent properties, a 3/4 vote of the full membership of the city council shall be required. This is if it's protested. A proposal under protest if a written protest is signed by the owner for at least 20% of the adjacent land, which sounds like we've got 7 or 8, if not 9, of the 16 that were sent. So I'm not going to go any further than that based on when we vote, but there is a obvious request by the neighbors that this not be renewed.
Anybody else? Okay, at this time, I'm going to close the hearing. I will entertain a motion to take action on the application.
I'll make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit at 30 King, just for voting sake.
And I'll second.
Tom, can we do roll call vote?
Yes, Ann Salee,
No.
Fergie Stewart,
No.
Joe Hill,
No.
Megan Morris,
No.
Susan Harmon,
No.
Tom Buford, no.
Okay. At this time, Jessica, your petition has been denied. You do have the right to appeal to City Council. Does she need to cease and desist renting this property at this point?
I will check with the city attorney about that.
Okay, and we'll let you know on that, Jessica. Thank you. Tom, if I could get you to do a roll call to establish a quorum, please?
Yes, Peter Graham,
Absent with notice.
Susan Holman,
Here.
Megan Morris,
Here.
Joe Hill,
Here.
Fergie Stewart,
Here.
Nancy Lee.
Here.
I'm present, Tom Buford.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Board of Zoning Adjustment, if I could get a motion to approve the agenda, please.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we have quite a few people that are going to do public comment. You're going to be limited to 3 minutes. The first one is Stephen Glassford. Stephanie Glassford.
Hello, everyone. Hello. So, my name is Steph Gordon Glassford. I live over on 23 Hale Street. And we are all here to address, sorry, I'm a terrible public speaker, I'm going to read. We are here to address the proposal for a commercial parking lot at 5 Douglas. There's just no acceptable reason to allow an ugly traffic clogging commercial parking lot in a beautiful historic residential neighborhood, especially Little Lake Eureka, especially near the dangerous triangle convergence at Armstrong and Douglas. It will completely degrade the historic and aesthetic character of the neighborhood and could even pose some potential liability issues. We live here, we walk these beautiful streets every day. The Little Lake Eureka Loop is gorgeous and special and relatively quiet, and it would be tragic if it were compromised. So I ask, what if someone put in an ugly parking lot with cars coming and going all day and night in front of your home, in your neighborhood? So we're just really hoping you listen to us, and we're all here to give, say the same thing. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, pardon me if I can't read some of this writing. James at 11 Douglas. I'm sorry? Okay. Cricket, you'd like to speak?
I just wanted to agree that I don't want a parking lot there either. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
RJ?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm RJ Josephine. I live at 60 Steel Street. I've been coming to Eureka Springs since 1978. I bought a house here 2 years ago. As residents here, we entrust the Historic District Commission to protect and preserve our historic neighborhoods. And from your mission statement, from the HDC mission statement, the mission of Eureka Springs Historic Preservation Program is to protect, preserve, and enhance our historic resources and support the economic, cultural, and environmental health of our community. We promote community through vitality, through collaboration with community members to preserve, enhance, and promote the city's significant heritage and save the places that are meaningful to our residents. So the parking problem in Eureka Springs didn't just start yesterday. We've known about this for at least 30 years that I'm aware of, and we're not going to solve this problem by moving surface parking out to the R1 zone neighborhoods. These historic neighborhoods have a character and integrity that needs to be preserved, deserves to be preserved. I've invested my life savings to live on that street, and I am very much opposed to any changes to the character of that neighborhood. You have a responsibility, and it's not just for you and me and us. It's for 100 years from now. What's your legacy going to be? Is there going to be a nice house there that fits with the neighborhood? Or are you going to, is your legacy going to be that you allowed a parking lot where it does not belong? In fact, commercial parking lots are not an approved, acceptable, or compatible use and are absolutely forbidden in R1 zoning. So you'd have to make a zoning variance to do this. For the last 5 years at least, my neighbors have had to witness this house demolition by neglect while the city turned a blind eye. And now you want us to accept some sort of a conditional use or a variant that allows a continuation of a weed-choked, trash-strewn parking lot in perpetuity. I'm here to say, no, that's not going to happen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Tony? Is there Tony out there?
Yes. Thank you for hearing us out. My name is Tony Marcus Christopher. I live at number 2 Douglas Street, which is right where Armstrong and Douglas join up. I've lived there now for a year and a half, and I am really worried about the possibility of a parking lot going in where we already have so much automobile traffic and sketchy foot traffic on that street. Just to give you an example, I've had a very expensive piece of stained glass art stolen from my porch. Mail has been stolen. My parcels get stolen, and just last Friday, there was a break-in attempt into my basement. And I'm worried that by adding another place for more cars and more people who are going to be walking up and down the street tipsy adds a bit of discomfort to my life, really and truly. So I'm urging you to please not let this happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Scott?
Good evening. My name is Scott Price. I live at 5 Ming Street, which is at Little Lake Eureka. And I've been there for 2 years. And I moved back to Eureka Springs 2 years ago. I actually grew up here, went to the elementary school, and I came back to Eureka Springs because of its beauty and historical value. And I just don't understand why you would allow this encroachment of a C1 variance into a residential area, because it's just taken away from the beauty that I've come back to enjoy the rest of my life in. So I object. A parking lot going into a residential area, it's just insane. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I honestly cannot read this name. It starts with an S. There's 2 people on here, Latigo, and then there's one other person. Did somebody else write their name down that they wanted to speak?
Well, I want to get up and say something right before. I didn't want to speak, but go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, you can come up and speak.
I just want to go real fast before you move on. I don't know if I have on yet. Hi, my name is Jim Duke at 11 Douglas Street, and the property that's been talked about is just 2 doors down from me. And I just really don't know. I don't see any reason. There is a problem, like was said before, about the parking, but we don't need to move it up there with the residents. The problem, make it up there. It's just too. I moved here a year and a half ago, and I moved here for a reason, and I moved there on that street for the beauty, the quietness, and it's just been really wonderful for me. And so I urge you, like everybody else, please, please don't let this happen.
Latigo, you want to say anything?
Hello. How's everybody doing tonight? Hi, everybody. I'm the bad guy. Nice to meet you all. I own 5 Douglas. And I think one of the things that I would like to say to you and you all, that it's not trying to turn it into commercial parking. I'm not trying to do like the $5 to park a half a day, come and park whenever you want to, random people. That's not the goal, not at all. The idea is to create off-street parking for long-term people that live in that area, whether they own a store downtown, whether they own a house that's close and they have no parking, they could use that area. I cannot afford to build a house there right now. I cannot afford to do anything with that place. And also, the major need of downtown is parking. So let's see, there's a couple people I've been taking notes on as you got up. RJ, you've been here for 2 years. Tony, a year and a half. Scott, 2 years. Jim Duke, year and a half. I've been living on Armstrong. I own my house on Armstrong, and I've owned that Douglas lot for, let's see, I bought my house on Armstrong 16 years ago, and I bought Douglas 8 years ago. And the thing about probate and things that get caught up in probate, that's what was delaying the progress of clearing that property. When I went to sign on that property, the woman died. It got caught in probate, and I was attached to it. I had to pay somebody random that came out of nowhere. I think he was from Iowa, and I had to pay him what I offered to pay Susan for that property. That's why it's taken so long to clear that property, and I apologize. I love this. I love this area. I love downtown Eureka Springs, and I would do nothing to compromise it at all. And it's not going to be commercial. It's just going to be off-street parking, which is absolutely needed downtown Eureka. Sorry. Do you all have any questions for me?
This is public comment. Susan, we have to wait.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just had a question for him.
We'll come later.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, so we don't have any unfinished business, so a motion to discuss conceptual review of parking lot proposal at 5 Douglas Street.
I make a motion that we discuss the conceptual review of parking lot proposed at 5 Douglas Street.
Second.
Okay. I do want to say before we get into this, anyone can ask to put anything before the Planning Commission on any subject. I can find nothing that would allow us to do a variance. This is R1. There's no CUP on this. He's certainly welcome to apply to rezone it if he wants to. I personally, if you're asking us to throw out ideas, that you might want to consider selling the property and let somebody building a house there. So, Susan.
I just have a question for Latigo. Sure. Yeah, please. So I have a picture here in front of me of what the lot looks like. And it has it looks like a stone wall in front of that. How are you planning on, what were you planning on doing in order to get cars in that lot? Was it from the back side or was it from the front side?
It would definitely be from the front side. Yeah.
Okay, so you'd have to take all of that historic rock out?
It's already gone, and it wasn't historical at all.
Oh, this picture is not any good?
It's not an updated photo. I live on that street too. It's
all gone?
It's gone.
Okay.
There's nothing there anymore, and absolutely anything that goes back in and anything that is developed or goes from this point on would definitely go through the historical planning commission, like the HDC, will definitely have to sign off on anything I do. I can't just make it look like whatever. It's not going to look like a parking garage.
And then one other question. How many cars were you planning on putting in that spot?
Whatever I'm allowed, or whatever is allowed. The whole idea of this meeting today was to see what the city felt, talk to the neighbors, and talk to you and see what if. I can do multiple things. I can build a house. I can do what I want with that. However, this is an idea that I've had, and I'm not going to just do it without the permission of my community and the Planning Commission.
And then as far as the parking goes, if you were allowed to put a parking lot in there and it was approved by the city at some point, you're saying that you would not charge for that parking?
It would be monthly rentals or a monthly
So it would be monthly rental.
parking
Okay,
rental.
gotcha.
If,
Well, you mentioned the
if the
$5.
city, I mean, they've already been talking about how it would be weird if just random people came in and out of that area. So by doing it on a controlled monthly basis and knowing exactly who's there would minimize the random people drunkenly walking through the neighborhood.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, the only thing I can say about this property or a property in that area was that, Eureka is short of reasonable cost housing for our laborers. And this, one of the things that I heard from the applicant long ago was that he was going to build residential housing for locals. So I think maybe this would be a good plan for this, is residential parking for locals, whether partnership or something like that, if the financing is trouble. But I would think that the best thing for this property would not be a parking lot, but an actual house for day laborers.
Okay,
Can I comment on that?
certainly.
That's from a different meeting for planning, because that was my house on Armstrong. This is on 5 Douglas. What I was talking about by creating more housing was not on either one of those properties. And with my house on Armstrong, now I have 3 rental spots, which house 3 local citizens that work downtown. And they all have off-street parking. They do not consume up any parking downtown. They have their own parking spots. Is that what you're talking about, or are you talking about something else?
No, I'm just talking about, the additional demand. The demand's high still. We've got, I interviewed some fellows the other day that were struggling because they're having to commute from Berryville here because they can't find reasonable housing.
And then it's even worse when they get here and they have to pay a parking meter
I understand.
downtown. And then it's even worse because nobody can come into the store because the person that is working the store is parked out front paying the meter.
I understand.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit here now if there's any other questions.
No, okay. That will concludes the Board of Zoning Adjustment. We'll adjourn that. Get a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn the BOZA board meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Move on to the Planning Commission approval of the agenda. I would like to move new business to the beginning and do unfinished business after that.
Okay.
Okay.
If I get approval of the modification.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as modified.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I don't have any public comments for the Planning Commission. So we go to new business, which is a conceptual review of Crescent Ridge Development proposal.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for giving me a few minutes here. My name is David Budukale. I own Andorra Real Estate LLC, and we are commercial real estate brokers in Texas and Arkansas. I'm a property owner, a proud property owner in Eureka Springs over on East Mountain. Bought a house there, finished renovating it, and we relocated to the area from Texas and been trying to get here for about 20 years. So I own a lot of other real estate around the area. And so in my travels and dealings around here, I was presented with what I thought was a fabulous piece of real estate up on East Mountain. And it is owned by the Bullock family for many, many years. It's about 39 acres. Just a beautiful piece of real estate. So I saw it as a unique opportunity, really, to make an impact. And the original concept was to build a kind of a private, gated, I'll just call it semi-luxury development. You know, the market can only support so much. And so I have contracted to purchase the property. I have not closed on the property. A closing on the property will require some significant support from Planning Commission, city, and maybe even other authorities, which I'm highly experienced in dealing with, having been doing this for over 40 years and $600 or $700 million in transactions and a lot of affordable housing units. So I originally looked at this as kind of a luxury property, but as I began, I hired an engineering firm, Swope Engineering, out of Rogers, to lay it out for me and give me some cost estimates. Talked to a lot of contractors here, talked to a lot of brokers, see a lot of deals, did all my research, and I've determined that the market is not high enough. I can't sell the lots for enough to be able to justify the price I'm paying and the development cost. And so I'm not even actually sure that the community needs any $150,000, $200,000 lots that look at the Crescent, although that'd be cool. Maybe a 2 or 3, but I don't think that they need what I'd originally envisioned, which was core lots, 14 lots that range from 1.51 to 3.08 acres. And this would be entering off of East Mountain. And then the property also fronts Mill Hollow. And there would be 8 lots there ranging from 0.23 to 0.30 acres. What made this site interesting was that there was city water and sewer that ran down East Mountain and Mill Hollow. So I thought that was really interesting, that we'd connect to water and sewer, wouldn't have to do well and septic. We could offer really a premier development. There are 2 higher ridges there. I don't know if you've ever been on that site. It's just a really nice piece of real estate. So anyhow, but the numbers just don't work at that density. And one of the biggest numbers is, so there's 2 things. I can't get the prices for the lots because the market won't support it. There's some nice developments that have been done here off Pivot Rock and then the Corley property. They just don't get any numbers like that. And they're not going to get numbers like that. The people that pay those prices for lots are out on the lake. So, or they're in other markets. They're just not, as beautiful as that property is, that's not realistic. So I met with Kylie, and she's been very, gracious with her time. I also met with the mayor once to generally talk about this development. And then I've also just, kind of a light went off, especially the last time I talked to Kylie. I need to shift directions here and see if there's an opportunity to increase the density of this development and provide some more affordable housing. Not Section 8 apartments. That's not what we're talking about here. We're not talking about 3, 4 level apartment buildings there, but discuss with the Planning Commission get their input on something higher density, let's say that's in the 4 unit per acre range, where we could do some tiny homes, some tighter lots, maybe some 0 lot line properties that enter off, that then out on the peak of that property, down on the point of the property, and I think you all have a little site map, their preliminary site plan. That's where I could do some nicer lots, and maybe 4 or 5 lots on the 2 higher ridges that look at downtown and the Crescent. And then just kind of separate those just a little bit, but make it, still very congruous. So why I'm at the Planning Commission is just to get feedback. Because there's a lot of steps that need to be taken. None of that's possible, even if you blanketly approved higher density, gave me all the variances I might ask for, which really don't need to be that many. We could even add in a community component there in a little park, is that the numbers still don't work. Even with higher density, if you take construction cost, development cost, and land cost, they still don't work. The only way they work, because you can only get so many rents here. We're not in Dallas, Little Rock, Nashville, Austin, Houston. We're here. So even though there's an affordable housing demand, which we all know, that you can't get the rents. Rents have come up, but you can't get the rents to make the numbers work. You can't even hardly pay for the construction on the rents. Forget the land and the infrastructure costs. So the Planning Commission will be important initially in helping me guide this development from a density and design standpoint so that I can then take a budget to the city with, of course, all your knowledge for support, both financially to help bring the water and sewer up the hill into the development, because that's where the cost is. The water and sewer is down there. To get it up here is very expensive. Water up, sewer down. It's not cheap. There are some, I've done a lot of tax credit financed deals, both 4% and 9%, a lot of hybrid deals with affordable housing where you go in and you get some tax incentives, tax abatements, even for a period of time, which help the operating costs and make the project more viable to be able to build affordable housing and solve the problem. So I'm here tonight to just have an open discussion, just kind of let you know what I'm thinking. I believe that we could probably bring very tastefully 80 to 100, at least 80 units there, if that's something that the Planning Commission thinks is and the community thinks is important and viable for that particular neighborhood. Crescent Ridge is the working title for it. And part of the reason that I'm also here tonight is the next step for me is to spend more money. Every time I call an engineer, meet with them, redesign something, it's a $10,000 check. So I'm already, it doesn't take long. So you can go through $100,000 like it was nothing on a project like this. So I'd at least like to know that what the community is thinking and what the Planning Commission is thinking about a project like that.
Susan?
I mean, I'm thrilled that you've changed direction and that you're looking at possibly putting more units in. If you were looking at 80 units, what would be the square footage on each of those units? Yeah,
that's a great question. We haven't pinpointed everything. I've just abandoned I've just abandoned number one, the first one, right? So we've pivoted to this, and this is not the only project that I'm doing, so I'm trying to really focus on this now. I would tell you that you're probably going to be somewhere around the 12 to 1,500 square foot range. They need to be big enough to be meaningful and attract, hopefully, good one-income, families, if not two-income families.
Okay, then
and with children.
And I do agree with you. Once you move sewer up the hill, it is more expensive than if it were flowing down, obviously. But I do have a question for you as far as have you thought about any commercial capabilities there on that property on the front side of it?
The answer is no. I'm a commercial guy. I just didn't feel like that would be something that the Planning Commission would actually ever consider in that neighborhood. B, I thought that I would get a lot of pushback from the community on putting commercial in that. I'm a property owner there. I'm not sure I'd support that. So, and if you look at that site, there's just a very small piece that touches East Mountain from a commercial standpoint. So unless there's some other kind of commercial development, we're talking about like a resort. Well,
what I'm saying is, if you were to have some commercial there, if you have 80 units in that particular area, dependent upon where the trolley runs, there are a lot of people that do depend on, that may not have 2 cars or even a car, and this might be something that would be a possibility for them if there were 80 units. The question that I would have is, does the trolley go there right now? It doesn't, so that would have
Right.
to be another route. But then the other thing is that if you've got 80 units, and say you've got a couple people in there, that's 160 people that are living up in that area.
Sure.
I don't know what the rest of the neighborhood looks like, because I'm sorry I didn't get this before the meeting. But there are opportunities for a 2-level building to have a storefront on the bottom and living above. And I only say that on the front side as far as the commercial question goes, because that may be an opportunity for those particular buildings to service that neighborhood.
I have a question. What would those residences actually look like? You're talking duplexes, you're talking townhomes, or is it going to be fourplexes?
That's a great question. In order to, I think, make it all work and get the density right, keep enough for parking, open space, it would probably be a combination of both. There would probably be some, duplexes, 2-level each, right? And then there might actually be some separate duplexes, priced accordingly. Not sure that they would, they'd all have single-car garage at least. I don't know if we could get in double-car garages. But they would all be, and they're very popular right now. You're seeing them all over the region, actually. And so there's no magic to the idea. It's just can they be allowed there? So there are duplexes usually side by side, the firewall in the middle, and then they each have a single or double garage, and then a little yard area in the back, a little yard area in the front. Very straightforward. You can actually get more than 4 per acre. Just in that setting, I think it almost just kind of defeats the whole purpose there. And if you could get 4 per acre, it's 39 acres if you take out the Milo Hollow section, because I would just retain that for small single family or tiny homes down there later. I'll worry about that later. I'm just trying to make the East Mountain piece, which is 35 acres, make that work. In the Mill Hollow, I'll just let sit. So even if you had 34 net acres there at 4 units per acre, that's up to 120 units. But I would want to back out that point, because I still believe down at the point that's just great real estate down at the point, looking at the Crescent, looking at downtown. So I'd probably reserve out 4 residential single-family lots at the end, gate that end, right? And make a nice drive through there for the other units.
Thanks.
Yeah, on the commercial, let me just make a comment on that. I do this for a living for a long time, and I'm all over. I was just in Charlotte and Savannah and Dallas and Austin. We do a lot of deals. This whole trend to this East Coast kind of upper level home, these mixed-use projects with the lower level, they have mixed success, and they usually require, a much more either dense urban development or a really significant major development cost that's really bringing in a lot of different kinds of residents to that little area. So they have this core area that's mixed commercial residential, right? But it's being supported not just by that development, it's being supported by a much larger, denser community around it. So I'm not saying it wouldn't work, but that would also say you need to be driving traffic up East Mountain to go to those commercial businesses.
I understand, and like I said, I haven't gone up there to look and
Yeah.
it.
I just don't know how congruous that would be with the neighborhood in that setting.
I have another question for you. When you mentioned garages, if you've driven around Eureka, you know that there are a majority of homes, at least on the historic district, that do not have garages. Is that,
No,
have
you need to have a
considered
garage.
that as far as a cost savings to you in order to possibly get I don't want to say more on each lot, but it would be a cost savings to you if they were more in line with just, say, the kind of a carport or a larger area that could be parked in.
Yeah.
Closer to, maybe like pods, where you've got parking close by.
Could I save money? Sure.
Yeah.
Is that the best long-term strategy to enhance the value and the rental amount of the unit and the desirability of the units? I think you're better off building the garage, long-term. I think the value is stronger long-term, create a finished garage. By the way, what we didn't talk about either way is that these would be structured as rentals. And I'm torn at the moment whether I build them as condominiums or single families and then retain them all in a group and lease them like an apartment complex, right? Or if I sell them individually to investors who either want to occupy them or lease them. It depends on the support how do you structure the whole financing of it.
Could you do both?
Sure. You could, of course. It's America. I can do anything.
Percentage for specifically for rental.
Yeah, I will tell you that and I understand someone here on the Planning Commission has some experience in the affordable housing space with tax credits and HUD. You'll know that it's the rental units that get the tax credit money, that have the support at the state, creating rental units. And typically, if you're going for support from the state, such in the form of tax credits, either 4 or 9%, or you're building a hybrid affordable housing model that has no tax credits, but it has tax incentives from the local government, all of those are rentals. Okay. And they're owned by one entity. So instead of selling off the lots, then I would form a separate company that would build and own all the real estate as a rental.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, the only thing, do you know Jay Guston? Have you heard that name? He's a developer over here at Pinecrest.
I know who he, and I may have met him. I don't know him personally.
Yeah, that was
I know
my
who he is.
He unfortunately is still probably recovering from bruises he received designing that subdivision out there with the city. But he's got a lot of that information you're looking for in reference to what experiences, how did he get the sewer lines, how did he get the water lines, how did he get all that stuff with our public works?
Yeah, so I hired the same engineering firm.
Okay.
Right, so they're already on my payroll. I have the same engineering firm. We ran the cost estimates.
There you go. Okay, good. Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Just so that you know, the preliminary estimates to get water up and sewer down, which would include some pump stations and lift stations, is almost the cost of the whole land. It's about $450,000.
Yeah. Right.
Tom?
About a year ago, I thought I would try to build an affordable house as a rental property. And I started last October. It's almost a year now. This won't affect you, but I first ended up in the Starkville district, which cost me $3,000 more than it should because of the kind of roof I wanted to use. I have sewer. It's in a subdivision. I have a sewer line in the street. It cost me $900 to town to the sewer line.
How many?
$900 to town. The sewer line was already there.
Yeah.
So as far as Jay Guston, I don't think got any help at all on his water and sewer from the city.
Probably not.
I think you can just forget about water and sewer as far as the city participating in that.
You know, this is exactly the kind of feedback I'm looking at. I got that sense. I went and met with the Public Works gentleman that runs that, and I don't think that the city or the planning have ever tackled anything like that. I will tell you this, that it's very clear now in America that the way to solve the affordable housing project is if you want to be reactive and wait for a white knight to come along and do that for you, then it ain't going to happen. That the way to do it is to be proactive. And typically that means taking the power of the municipal government, either in bond financing or tax increment financing or tax abatements or whatever, and contribute to the private sector. It's happening in every city. Eureka Springs is going to be no doubt. There's nothing unique about Eureka Springs that would indicate that they should not be doing it. if they want to solve the problem. But I'm not saying you got to solve the problem. They can go to Berryville or go somewhere else. I'm saying if you want to create affordable housing in this market and you're waiting on somebody who just sold their company for $1 billion, loves Eureka, and going to build it on their own, you're going to be waiting a long time.
Well, I think it's an excellent idea. I mean, I know people that are couch surfing, you know, when the market got really good, and people that had had long-term rentals for many years, and as we've all matured, made the decision to sell that property, and a lot of people lost their homes. So, Susan?
I just have a question for Kylie. Kylie, and I don't know what your experience is or anything like that, but is there a way for you to work with him, or at least have a discussion with him as to if what he's telling us came to fruition? So if we ended up with 80 units on that particular lot, what would that mean to the city? And I say that only because obviously there are taxes that would have to be paid, there would be water bills that would be paid. Have you ever done anything like that, or do you know of anybody within the city that would be able to assist him and to assist us as commissions to say, rather than, I mean, it's great that you bought the property and this is what you'd like to do, but I think to help push that project forward or to possibly ask more questions, it would be beneficial to us to know what that means to the city. So if we got 80 units on that particular property, what does that mean to the city as far as tax collections? What does it mean to the city as far as water, electricity, and whatnot? Because I think what sometimes happens is we look at these things and we say, oh my gosh, it's going to cost, you know, it's going to cost the city this much. Or the city says, you have to pay $900 for a water hookup. But in the long term, over 10 years, what does that particular building or those particular buildings mean to the city? Not only does it create more housing, but it does create more revenue. I hate to say revenue. It creates more taxes to the city itself by that property being developed as opposed to being undeveloped. So there are a lot of pluses, and if we could look at it that way and at least be able to kind of weigh the pros and cons and, you know, the benefits versus the negatives, then that might help us when we're not making these decisions, but helping us to promote these projects maybe a little bit better. Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
Yes, and the answer is yes, but it also sounds like he has done a lot of that research and legwork, so I don't think it would be difficult to get a general idea of tax revenue.
Well, there's financial, and by the way, Kylie's been waiting on me, so she's been fine. So she's been waiting on me.
No, I'm not saying anything negative about what's been done so far. I'm just saying that, you know, before somebody says, well, I don't think that's a good idea because, you know, and I'm saying within the city.
Sure.
I'm saying that the city as a whole, those individuals who are making those decisions should, I would hope, look at the long term of what that means. In perfect example, which you may not have been here, was when we went through the issue with Sonic. I never saw what would Sonic bring to Eureka. I just saw this is how much we want to charge Sonic in order to get the building here. So, and it could be because that, you know, particular place there was only one building on it. It may not have been as much as a property that has 80 units on it. So the denser the buildings, obviously, the more it generates for the city. And I'm just saying that.
Well, there's financial modeling. I have a financial model that I would eventually submit for that thing. So I can tell you that the financial model will support a certain number. Whether you're borrowing, whether you're doing bond money or whatever, how you create the financial model, which is a combination of water and sewer revenue and ad valorem taxes. And then you take that model and you manipulate it based on the interest rates that you're paying for, the municipality's paying for the debts, or what they're giving up, if it's non-cash, if it's tax reduction or abatement. That model then spits out what you can afford to contribute.
And has that model been presented to the city?
No, not yet. I'm just trying to, I just shifted gears here. We
Okay.
can create the model, but I can tell you right now, I could deliver the model right now that would be so compelling, it would just, of course, this is done all the time. This is not anything new. We're not crossing new ground here. The real issue is from a political standpoint, even if the model made perfect sense, at the end of the day, in a lot of communities, I'm sorry, we've never done that before.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And so if I do it to you, then I've got to help Jim Smith and Mary Allen and whoever. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you don't have any affordable housing.
Well, I mean, it's something we keep asking for.
Right,
Can we ask for a joint commission with city council? Because I feel like they're going to have to make decisions on it. I am all for this. Worked in real estate for years. This makes sense. We need it in our community badly. We need parking. We need affordable housing. This is a no-brainer. So if
Who would
he's
approve this?
not wrong that cities do this all the time and help hook up water for free or something.
I guess
you
in
know?
some ways this would be a subdivision.
Your PUD.
See,
Planned unit
Yeah.
development, it would come to us.
Right.
Yep.
okay. And it would go to the historic district.
Is that historical?
Right.
It's no, it's R2, right?
It's R2, I think.
Only the actual construction would go to the historic district, but new construction is the most open construction type, so that wouldn't be an issue.
It wouldn't be an
And
issue.
the only reason
Yeah,
why,
I don't think, by the way, I don't think they would be asking for a lot of variances from the planning and construction. That's not really where it goes, you know. In the end of the day, it comes down to basically 3 or 4 people on city council or who are pulling the levers, said, I think this is a good idea, or no, I don't. That's what happens in the end.
Tom?
If you do the PUD concept rather than the subdivision, I think we have a little more flexibility about the density and how you know, as you, I'm sure you know, the PUD came about, if you had a piece of property and you had a swamp on one end and, dry land on the other end, you could put the units on the dry land and use the low land that wasn't buildable, to still get your density you needed to make the deal work or whatever.
I think that's a great suggestion, too. Yeah.
Pinecrest, the one we're talking about with Jay Guston, he went through the subdivision process. Unfortunately, I think our subdivision code was copied from some $50,000 city, and it's kind of complicated for, for most dealers. But the PUD, I think, was done up there on top of the mountain. I think it was done at Echo out there was a PUD.
Right, Dr. Bell.
And
yeah.
it gives you a little more flexibility, I think.
Okay. All right, the last thing I would say, thank you for your time, I'll wrap this up here because I know you have other business to get to, is I will accelerate my work here with Kylie and produce some financial models and try to get more costing because I have not closed on the property. I have it under contract. And I'm not going to close on the property until I feel a little bit more comfortable. And whether I do this deal or not is not the end of the world, but I have a seller, and the seller is very gracious, and they at their property, and I have an obligation to say, I think that I'm not looking for assurance, but I got to handicap this race. And so whether I close or not, so I'm going to spend a little bit more money here, a little bit more time, and all I would ask from the Planning Commission and any other powers is that we take that into account that timing is important. So I'll do everything I can, and all I ask is just to try to move this forward as fast as we can because I have a lot of parties that are waiting on me. And in the end, we may not win. I get it, but at least I need to know I got a pretty good shot.
Got my sport, Susan?
I just have one more item. And,
Yes.
And it will affect you, but Public Works So many times, things get approved, and then, the person they go to, and they say, here's what I want to do. Well, this is how much it's going to cost you, just like what Tom had mentioned. It'd be really nice on something like this if we could get some numbers from Public Works prior to, if he purchases, and have an actual agreement that this is, like, we all understand exactly how much is going to be charged for something like that, because I've heard lots of numbers, and it would be nice to see a joint discussion
Yeah.
and
I
have
think
some
that's-
agreement.
I think that's what David is asking for.
Right.
And part of facilitating that conversation with other departments would be buy-in from the Planning Commission.
Yeah. And I don't know if that necessarily involves city council as much as it does Public Works and some of the others that are actually making those day-to-day decisions and quoting those prices when it comes to putting in those new buildings.
But city
So-
council would have to vote on
city council would vote
approving
on it,
a gift or tax incentive, something
yes, they
to
would
help
have to do
soften the
something
blow.
like that.
And if they're involved in these meetings, it expedites the process so that we're not having to hop between groups.
Well, the reality is that is one of the big byproducts of coming to the commission early like this for tonight, because I can go talk to the Director of Public Works until I'm blue in the face. Not that he's a very nice guy. He's very nice. He invited me right in his office. Oh, he's great, right? But it's about knowing that he knows that there's other folks involved. They don't know me from Adam, right? So it's a help, when you're talking to people that are important to the process.
So are you just asking for our blessing tonight?
No. You know what? I'm not really asking for anything. But I'm going to have to come back here and ask for something. Right?
Okay.
So I'd like to come, get to know everybody a little bit first so you see what's happened. And I may get some more numbers in the next meeting. It may not work out, and I got to pull the plug, and I'm going to something else. We'll do something. I'll do something here. I think affordable housing is needed in this area. Maybe this is not the right piece of real estate. I think it is. But maybe it's not. But so I'm just wanting you to see, get an early look at what we're thinking. And what I didn't hear back is I didn't hear, oh, no, we would never do 4 units an acre or anything like that.
I know this is not anything we're voting on, but I certainly support it.
Oh, me too. Here.
I know there's a lot of work to be done on this
Have you
project.
gotten any feedback from the city so far?
Met with the mayor, met with Kylie, a while
Right.
back. And, the mayor was
Positive?
very supportive.
Did he agree to give you water and sewer?
Sir?
Did he agree to provide you water and sewer at the city's cost?
No, he didn't agree to anything. No. What he agreed to is to help me, get to the answers and present it and look at it in earnest. He did have a discussion that I guess there's an affordable housing commission, right, or committee or something like that, and he invited me to participate that, and I'll have to follow with him on that. At that time, I wasn't thinking about that type of property, but no, I met with him one time, and he responded, very positively. So, of course, a big deal here too, Kylie, one thing that you could help with, run some frontline, is not just cost and ability, it's capacity. So we were talking about 22 units before. Now we're talking about 80 to 84 units, right? So it's one thing, even if you could help to support the infrastructure cost, do you have the capacity?
Septic system.
Right. Do you have the capacity? By the way, you mentioned septic. I looked at doing septic, on the bigger lots. You could do that, and I would have to apply, I guess, for a variance because it's in city and all that stuff. I just don't think that's really
Actually, on
viable.
East Mountain, it's kind of remarkable for me when I moved here, how many houses are on septic on East Mountain already. So we have quite a few.
Yeah, there are. It kind of defeats, when I was marketing the more higher-end lodge sale, it kind of defeats the whole thing, though.
Right.
To be on, part of the appeal is, and part of the way you maximize the sale price is, you're on public water and sewer.
David, also, have you contacted any of the state representatives about grant programs?
I'm actually working with State Representative Rogers on another transaction right
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
So I haven't
I'll
than that
give
we
you-
hear. So,
yeah.
but I am familiar with the Arkansas
Right.
tax credit
Right,
award
so
program.
this area is Harlan Bro, and I've got his contact information. I'll give it to you.
Cool.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Okay, unfinished business, discussion of Spring Street Neighborhood Parking District Ordinance Proposal.
I make a motion that we discuss the parking district ordinance proposal.
Second.
Okay. Has everybody really had a chance to look at this? Susan, you didn't, did you? Should we do a workshop on this? One more workshop, just with planning?
Yeah, after the city one, because they were talking about the fees and stuff, increasing the fines and stuff.
I think we've got enough, we can move forward without city council
Good, I
to
agree.
finalize this, to take
maybe
that before them.
One more workshop?
Do you want to wait until our meeting in
October?
October, or should we schedule one? Oh, you're going to be gone in October.
Well, first half.
We could schedule, would you all be willing? Would it be possible for us to schedule it before the city council meeting on the 26th? If we did it like earlier in the afternoon?
That's a
That's
Monday?
a Monday, it would be Monday, the 20,
Yeah, that'd be
I
fine.
don't have any
the
problem.
26th?
Fine.
So like 5 o'clock before?
Unless they have a budget meeting.
Yeah.
I will have to check.
Would you check on
With
Is
that?
this October or November?
This is September.
Oh, September?
And if that's not possible, could we do it on the 28th before CAPC?
Okay.
I can't be there.
You can't do that? Okay. So we're shooting for the 26th.
And this is just planning.
Just planning.
Yeah, just parking.
And you said 5 o'clock?
It depends on whether or not city council's got a budget meeting before their meeting.
And if there is,
We just move it up maybe to like 4?
Well, they did a budget meeting, wasn't it yesterday?
Yeah, but they do them often.
I know, but it's usually once a month.
Oh, okay. Kylie, if you could find out for us?
Yeah, I will.
That'd be great.
Tentatively, at 5, we'll find out if it's...
Yeah.
We could do it downstairs.
And that gives everybody an opportunity to really read through this. I would like, if you have any questions, forward them to Kylie so she can get them out to everybody before this.
Okay.
Peter should be, hopefully Peter will be able to attend.
Did any of this change, Kylie, from the last workshop?
No, the only thing that substantially changed was the fines.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was increased. Obviously, the map is new, but we know what that space looks like. And then the district parking enrollment explanation of options and requirements, that is where a lot of the administrative information comes in. That doesn't need to be in the ordinance, but is just how we actively manage issuing permits, if permits are lost, how much of a fee is there if you have to replace a permit, those types of things. So, I mean, really, the only thing that changed here was the penalty that was discussed with the chief of police and city council.
Right.
Okay, and then one other question. I'm sorry, I've been out of town, and so I'm not caught up. The signs are up, except for one sign? Did that other sign get put up?
The signs are not up as you go toward,
From the library back.
no, well, there's the last residential sign as you go around by the Fuller House, They don't have a visitor and tourist lodging parking, and they have not marked that off yet.
That's that one that goes,
Around the corner, across
Okay.
from Claude Fuller's house.
but when the guy was here, I did notice the guy was here painting stripes. So all of the striping is done now, right?
It wasn't done the other day.
Not-
He was painting
Uh-uh.
the curve the day I saw him.
So he hasn't done, is he
I
still
don't
here
know.
to do
I
that?
happened to see him.
I think it got delayed because
because
of the parades and stuff going on this weekend, so he was going to do it this weekend.
So that would be my question. The guy that has the little machine,
Right.
is he the guy that paints the yellow
Yeah,
stripes?
he's the guy.
So is he still here, or did
Yeah,
he
he's actually
get-
got an apprentice he's been training, so
Oh,
hopefully.
good for him. I don't know.
Kylie, could you check on those visitor tourist lodging signs and the striping again, please?
Please. It seems like we ask these same questions all the time.
Yeah,
At least once a month.
Yes.
yeah, it is.
Anything else on that? Okey dokey. Commission business. Approval of minutes for the July 12th regular meeting.
Right. I make a motion that we approve the minutes as received on July 12th, regular meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, agenda setting. We will have the Spring Street Neighborhood Parking District ordinance proposal on that.
Right.
Can we add, just in case it hasn't been answered by them, can we add the 30 King, whether or not she can continue to rent? Is she renting
Yes.
that right now?
She is renting it right now,
So-
and that'll be something we need to,
Based
she
on-
does have the right to appeal to city council.
Right, but can we just find out whether or not it is
Yeah,
allowed
we
to
could
be
do that.
continued
Yeah,
while we're in this process?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Does anybody have anything else?
Nope.
Commissioner comments?
Commissioner comments?
Okay.
Bergie, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to tell, again, I always like to do this because the businesses, we had a great weekend. We had the bank reenactment, bank robbery. It was a good crowd. Businesses were open. I interviewed a lot of tourists from all over the country. They were glad to be here, and they were having a great time, and they loved their rooms they were at. They loved the town. So thank you, business. Eureka, thank you for those businesses that were open for that weekend. We got a big one coming up, 450 Jeeps due in. So if you don't have to be downtown Eureka, don't be downtown Eureka on Saturday. It's going to be a mess. Anyway, we're going to make it work, though. But so thank you, Eureka.
Not just downtown, Fergie. Took me an hour and a half to get home last year.
I understand.
Joe? No?
No.
Tom?
No.
Susan?
David, thank you for coming in and kind of explaining all of that. It's always nice to have someone who wants to help grow the city.
Well, thank Kylie for squeezing me at the last minute. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Megan?
I'll piggyback that. Thank you. I appreciate the effort. I think our city needs to be open to incentivizing developers to do something in this town. And I also want to thank Latigo for coming out and talking. I think he kind of got thrown under the bus there a little bit. I think
Yeah.
his intention was very sweet, and I think that everybody deserves to speak and be heard, and I think it got a little out of hand there. So I appreciate his ideas, and I think we all need to be nice to our neighbors and let everybody pitch ideas. This was not a voting thing, so just be nice, everyone.
Right.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you all for everything you do. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a good evening.